Hi, isn't this gorgeous? I wish it was a gift for me, but actually I'm going to show you how to make a baker's dozen of roses out of pâte sucrée. Pâte sucrée is a European cookie dough, and it's very different. It's like a sugar cookie, but it is different. I'll explain that. But then I'm going to show you the 5 steps to get this so that you can give this to somebody that you care about very, very much. The first step is that we're going to use, well actually let me tell you the ingredients. We have a pound of soft butter. We have 4, then this is room temperature, but our eggs are cold. We have 1/3 ounce of salt. We have a pound 4 ounces of powdered sugar, and we have a pound 15 ounces of flour, all-purpose flour. The first thing that we're going to do is to get our paddle put on here, because this dough will be much too stiff to use a whip. So we're going to put our paddle on our, did I do that? And we're going to cream this. And if you would look in the bowl, you would see that I'm just spreading the butter out. And I'm going to put the salt in. And we're going to take our rubber scraper and scrape this all down on the bottom. Now, this is a sort of a different method. Usually you make cookies via the creaming method, where we add the sugar right after the butter. What we're going to do this time, however, is add the eggs 2 at a time and whip it in. It's going to be a little curdly and everything, but we do this, and I find that the eggs act as an emulsifier, and they keep all of these things in suspension, and the dough is less likely to ferment, which means spoil. Very fresh eggs and very cold. So if you look in here, you would notice that the mixture looks really curdly at this point. I'm going to stop the mixer again, and I'm going to scrape inside, because you have to help the machine along a little bit. It's just a machine, and so you have to use that human element to get what it is that you want. Show the machine who's boss, actually. Okay, and I'll add another, and the last one. And again, you're going to notice that the mixture is curdly, but that will disappear. Alrighty, so again, showing the machine who is boss here, because we need to take some butter off the center here, because you want to keep it all well mixed. Okay, our next step is to mix in the powdered sugar. And the reason that we're mixing in the powdered sugar before we add the flour is that we want a tender cookie. These cookies are going to be rolled very thickly, but we want the cookies to be tender, so we're adding the flour in last so that we don't develop what is called gluten in the flour, which is the protein that causes the structure. Sometimes that's a good thing to develop it. In the case of cookies and desserts, it's usually not. So we're going to do this slowly at first so that we get this, so we don't want it in our face. Powdered sugar is made with cornstarch and superfine sugar, and a lot of people are wondering why it tends to go all over the place, and that's because of the cornstarch. But you just have to show it again how to control itself here, and just keep this clean. All right, and at this point, this is not a very stiff dough, so I'm going to raise the speed of the machine and beat this until it's smooth, and it will turn a lighter color, and we're really beating these eggs in very well, and the sugar, so it's completely homogeneous, or the same. Okay, now I'm scooping again because we're going to add the flour next. And when you use the bowl as your scraper over here, you want to be sure that then you take that and you push it into the mixture, because you want it to be well mixed at the end. Okay, the next thing now, we're going to add our all-purpose flour, and here is where it becomes a dough. So we're going to add a little bit, low speed, start this mixing because we don't want it in our face. And then we'll add this here. Now, this is a lot of flour, but this is what adds the structure to the cookie. Now, pâte sucrée is different from a sugar cookie because there is no leavening in here. A leavening agent is something like baking soda, baking powder, that causes the product to rise. We don't have anything in this. This is a dense cookie dough that's very versatile. You can actually make tart shells out of it, which we'll do at a later time. I'll show you how to do that. So now you're looking here, and you can see that before now I'm going to add this, you can see the difference. This dough is drier now. Okay, so we're going to incorporate this in here, and what I'm going to do is I am going to, again, use the scraper and get way underneath, because when you're making cookie dough with a machine, chances are the top part of the dough is not the same as the bottom. So I'm trying to help it because we want all of our cookies to have the same texture. And you really, as you're making these cookies, you don't really, again, you don't have to go to the gym, because some of this takes a little bit of strength here. This is a lot of cookie dough. Okay. We're going to continue. Whoops. I'm going to do this here. Okay. And we're going to make this into a smooth dough. It's going to start cleaning the bowl if it's made properly. All right. We don't want to mix it too much. Okay. And then we'll let this sit for a few minutes so that the flour absorbs any moisture. But as I'm looking in here, I want to show you what I'm looking at here. Okay, on the very bottom, you'll notice that it's not the same. So this is what I'm going to bring this up at the top. And this happens with any cookie dough that you make in a machine. When I had my bakery, we would make cookie dough in 80-quart mixers. And we would have to go through the same procedure, because you want all of the cookies to be the same consistency. So we're going to knead this into the top part of the dough. We'll just put this in here like this. Use our hands here a little bit. Okay, and we're going to mix this some more. All right, beautiful. Okay, now we're going to remove this paddle. And we're going to use a bowl scraper to help us with this. Over here. Bowl scraper is a very handy item to have in your kitchen. I'm not wearing gloves for doing this because I am going to be baking this. So if I were handling a baked cookie or a cookie that I was going to decorate in the commercial world, you would wear gloves. And I take that practice to my home kitchen because I think that we don't want to spread bacteria. And the humans are the major cause of food poisoning and so on. So I'm pretty careful. I use the professional techniques at home. That's why I'm wearing a hat again. And with the bowl scraper now, I've finished making sure that the bottom mixture is well mixed into the regular mixture, the top mixture, the top dough. And I'm going to set this on here. And I'm going to add now chocolate chips to create our baker's dozen. So I have 6 ounces of mini chocolate chips. I'm going to sprinkle them all over. Okay. On low speed, I'm going to turn this on. Okay, and then when I see that they're added evenly, I'm going to sprinkle some more. And then a little bit over in the bottom. And we've got it. We're done. Okay. Okay. Right. So I'm using the straight side of the bowl scraper on this part. As you can see, curved for bowl scraping, and then this is for scraping the flat areas. Very handy. Okay, now what we need to do is the next step, which would be wrapping. And for that, we're going to use some saran. And with this dough, as you can see, this is a rolled kind of dough, rolled cookies for rolled cookies. And you can see that this is much too soft to roll, so we're going to have to refrigerate this. It's best to leave it maybe 6 hours or overnight, because you want it firm. So I'm dividing it about into 4. So the way I do this is loosely wrap, press it down, and then square it off. And you want to make all of your packages the same height and shape about, so that they chill at the same time. And then as you're using it later on, it'll all get a little warmer so that you'll be able to actually roll it, because this gets very, very hard. The next step is to refrigerate these for at least 6 hours. But what you can do, if you have a busy schedule, you can freeze this, and then when you're ready to do the next step, which is rolling, you can defrost it in the refrigerator. So this makes it really easy. It's a very versatile dough. So if you have a bakery, for example, you can make all of this kind of dough ahead and freeze it. Now the dough has just been taken out of the refrigerator, ready to roll. So what I have here are some things that you may not be familiar with. This is a pastry cloth, and this is a rolling pin cover. And I use this rather than marble or other smooth surfaces, breadboards, etc., because this replicates a commercial sheeter. Commercial sheeters have canvas beds on them, and so that's why you can create thin sheets of puff pastry and so on, because things don't stick to them. So I use this, and it also means that we don't have to add as much flour. This one is brand new out of the washing machine, and so we have to season it with a little bit more flour than we would the next time we use it, because you can use it several times before you have to wash it. So this dough, as I mentioned, is pretty firm. So rather than just keep rolling back and forth and like this, I hit it a little bit and just kind of show it's who's boss, just a little, like that, and just kind of get it in a workable state. And then I don't want this to stick. So again, I'm just going to try and season this, and I pick it up periodically. Now, what I have here are 3/8 inch wooden dowels. You can get these at a place that sells lumber, and I use those as a guide in terms of determining how thick I want my particular cookie or that I'm making. And in this case, I just made a little stencil out of some file paper, and I'm going to use this as kind of a base for my roses, for our rose bouquet. So I keep rolling this, and again, I don't want to have it melt on here, so I keep turning this and turning and rolling from the center out. But I always have to make sure that if I change direction that I'm over the dowels, because that determines how thick the dough is going to be. Now, we're almost there. Again, I'm not pressing very hard. And here we have it, like this, and that's our thickness. Then I'm going to take, because I don't have a cutter, because I just made this myself, I'm going to take a paring knife. Now, you have to be careful, because you don't want to cut your pastry cloth. So I like to have a little bit irregular, so I kind of go in a little bit and then out, kind of at intervals, and you're going to bump into some of these chocolate chips, but you just ignore that and go right straight through. So I'm actually making this a little bit larger than my stencil. Okay, and we're going to put this over on the sheet pan lined with paper. I'm going to decide where I want the bottom of this cookie. And then I'm going to take a 3/16 inch dowel and lightly just push it in firmly, but raise it a little bit above the bottom of the cookie, and put it in where I want it. Okay, it ends right about there. Kind of press that gently, and I'm going to be chilling this until it's firm. I say maybe a half hour, and then I'm going to bake it at about 275, 300 degrees. It depends on how large the cookie and how thick it is, but this was baked for about 30 minutes at 300 degrees. So that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to show you then what a finished cookie looks like. So it doesn't take much shape. And you want the cookie to be a little bit brown and slightly brown on the bottom so that you have this delicious flavor. But you can see how firm this is. So this makes real fun. You can do this in all kinds of shapes for any holiday. Okay, so we're done with that phase. And so I'm going to put this in the refrigerator and let this set for about a half hour, and then I'm going to put this in the oven. The next step is decorating. So we're going to do that next. Now we're going to begin decorating our Baker's Dozen chocolate pot sucre roses. So it doesn't look like a rose yet, but it will when we're finished. The first thing I want to show you is, first of all, we're going to be using our parchment cone that I showed you how to make. And we're going to stick a number 5 tip in here, and I have cut the bottom of this cone so that the tip is going to come out very thoroughly, at least halfway from the end. So that's all set. And I have my mini spatula, and I have some colors here. We want to make red, and it's a little tricky. This is royal icing, and first of all, you would think that I would just have to add red to this, but in fact, what I'm going to do is saturate this with lemon yellow, kind of a very, very bright yellow. Takes a lot. And then we're just going to use up the white in this pigment. When you say, how are you going to get red out of this? But in fact, you will. You won't get red if you just add red, okay? Which is odd, but the way it is. So we're going to, add a lot of this. We want red. Oh, sound effects. And we have red. I'm going to add even a little bit more. But you can see how fast that went to red. It's a little red orange, but we'll add some more. It kind of depends on the color that you want, the saturation level here. And we're going to do some more. Oh, I guess we're at the kind of the end here of the bottle. And there we go. And this is going to darken a little bit on the cookie. All right, so we have our red. Now, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to add, I guess we'll do it this way. And you notice that I'm wearing gloves because I don't want any of this color to get on my hands. The hand is the largest organ that you have, and everything goes into the blood, so we think about that, and we just keep our skin out of the way of the color. Okay, and now we're going to start in the center, and we're going to squeeze, and we're going to just let that fall around. So we're just going to make sort of an artsy, not a realistic rose, and we're going to do sort of a more modern rose. And you have a center, and then you have overlapping petals. So this kind of simulates that. And again, elevate. When you're doing this, this is a 90-degree angle. Again, the consistency, pressure control is the same as it is with any other icing. And I'm just making these a little bit larger. And each one can be a little bit different. And you just kind of think to yourself how a rose would look. But all of these overlap. That one I'll just fix a little bit. And I'm going to go around the edge, and I'm going to come in and make a curve. Overlap that one. So this is pressure and movement. Okay. And we're just about done. I like to go on the outline there. And we'll go around over here, and we'll finish. So no two have to be exactly alike unless that's the way you want it. And now we have our rose, circle turned into a rose, and we just need to let this dry about 3 to 5 hours, and then we're ready to eat. So what we have now is the makings for our baker's dozen bouquet. Ready to eat and ready to be a focal point at your next gathering.